Network Television proudly presents the 1986 Goodwill Games from Moscow and from Madrid. Brought to you by Pepsi. When it comes to taste and refreshment, time after time, it's Pepsi. By Stroh's and Stroh Light. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's is spoken here. And by the Prudential Beige Securities.
And by CNN, the world's most important network and a proud sponsor of the Goodwill Games.
And now, here is the host of the 1986 Goodwill Games. From Moscow, Bob Neal.
Bart Connor was a member of our 1984 Olympics. Do so badly yesterday, Bart.
Well, I'll tell you what, the U.S. had a rough time. In fact, all the gymnasts had a rough time. I was talking with one of the Soviet athletes, Alexei Tikhonki. He told me that the landing surfaces, these new mats, are experimental mats. And he even admitted that I think it's maybe a bad experiment because the mats are terrible. Even the Soviet Union had difficulty dealing with them. It caused some injuries. In fact, a couple of guys, when they were landing off the high bar, actually their feet pierced through the vinyl surface and opened up the foam on these mats. So they're very, very bad. What happened to the Americans? They started on the vault. 3 of the Americans had trouble with these landing mats. They all fell on their vaults, on very easy vaults, ones that they just assumed they could do on any given day. I think that really rattled their confidence, and I don't believe they ever were able to generate any momentum after that.
Yuri Balabanov was one of the men that was injured for the Soviet Union, as was Dan Hayden on our United States team. But let's talk about the Soviets in today's individual all-around.
Well, I'll tell you, we have 3 really exciting Soviet athletes who are our leaders coming into this competition. Yuri Korolev, of course, who has been 2-time world champion, is outstanding. Artyomov, and my favorite is Mogilny. He's young, but I think he's actually the best. He's got a lot of competition from Artyomov and Korolev because they're the studs. They know how to compete in these big international events. But Mogilny's the best. If he can put it together today, he might surprise those guys.
Okay. Kathy Johnson, also a member of our 1984 Olympic team, won a bronze and a silver there. In light of what happened to our American team yesterday, with the individual all-around happening today, how important is it for us to do well?
Well, Charlie, it's not a do-or-die situation. However, it'd be very beneficial for the U.S. team to put our 3 strong men out on the floor and have a good showing tonight. It's a great opportunity for Charles Lakes, Phil Cahoy, and Dennis Hayden to compete tonight and show some good stuff. Charles Lakes, in particular, can be very competitive with our top athletes out on the floor tonight because he has the difficulty, so we should see some good things.
Okay, now our women come in on Thursday. They start competition. In fact, that the men did not do that well. Will it have any carryover effect as far as the women are concerned?
The men's performance won't have any effect on the women at all, except the fact that maybe it'll give them a little more incentive to make a good showing for the U.S.
Okay, and the competition is about to get underway. We start our first rotation tonight with the vault. And the young man you're looking at is Valenty Mogilny of the Soviet Union.
What a nice vault, too. Tremendous height and distance. Now, that was a laid-out Sukahara with a full twist. One small step on the landing, but a nice vault.
He's had the second-best overall score in the team competition last night, of 58.25. On this particular apparatus, the vault, he had a 9.55, which was not particularly high, but none of the gymnasts had a particularly high score in the vault last night.
Probably of all the events, vaulting was the lowest scoring.
So last night a 9.55, today a 9.60. Sophia Kroll, you're watching from East Germany. Born in Lubin. Small town near the northwestern part of Cottbus, which is southeast of Berlin, near the Polish border.
Oh, what a great vault. Now that was a double front with a 1.5 twist and a nice job on the landing. That's one of the most difficult vaults being done in the world today.
Sophia Kroll from Lubin in East Germany. Finished 5th in the all-around in the team competition yesterday, and on this particular apparatus had a 9.55. Today, he comes up with a 9.75. Sophia Kroll of East Germany. This is Yuri Korolev of the Soviet Union. His first routine in his attempt to win the all-around. He had the top score among the all-around competitors in the team competition. He averaged 9.7, and he's a 2-time world championship all-around title winner.
Just to stay on the Soviet national team for 4 years is a hard enough job, but to be 2-time world champion is incredible.
Look at this work. Reverse act from a one-arm giant to another reverse act. One of the best parts about his style as a gymnast is he never holds back. He's always doing all of the big skills in every routine. I think that's one of the reasons why he's one of my favorite champions, is because he's always going all out. Okay, there's his third release move. That's a straddled front, or a Jaeger, named after the German gymnast Jaeger. And a beautiful layout double backflip. Great finish to a strong exercise.
Yuri Koryaev of the Soviet Union, he's 23 years of age. And on the high bar, he comes up with a 9.80.
United States, 21 years of age, from Newhall, California, scored a 9.35 on the vault yesterday. In the team competition, finished 10th, was a top American scorer, a score of 56.75.
Charlie had a good day. We talked about how he can be kind of hot and cold. Well, he was pretty hot yesterday. Okay, what a fantastic vault. Now, that was a double front in the pike position, but he only used one arm, which will make that vault score very, very well.
Lakes on the vault, a 9.60. Yesterday, a 9.35. So not a bad score for Charlie Lakes.
And a good start.
Li Shuyang of China, working on the vault right now.
Now, that's a nice vault. Now, that was a laid-out Tsukahara off of one hand, which makes it more difficult. But the best part about that vault, not only was it high, but he had tremendous distance. And the judges are looking for a great deal of distance past the horse and, of course, a good landing.
He was tied for 17th in the team championships yesterday, 56.35 on the vault. He had a 9.45. Let's see what he gets tonight. Li Chongyang of the People's Republic of China. Team finished third. He gets a 9.45 on the vault. In the competition for the team yesterday, they won a bronze.
So checking the standings after the first rotation, the Soviets own the top three spots, led by Yuri Koryaev, with Valentin Mogilny second and Vladimir Artyomov third. Charlie Lakes of the United States is the top American right now. He's tied for seventh with Fu Lu Ming. And we'll be back with more gymnastics in the men's individual all-around competition in just a moment.
And tonight he tries to win a gold in the individual all-around. Born in Vladimir, at 23, he is the only gymnast to win 2 world championships in the all-around. Here's our Goodwill profile.
My son, Alyosha, will be 3 soon in August. My wife's name is Galina. Now she works here as a nurse in a bacteriology lab. When my son is 5 or 6, I'll take him to the gym and hand him over to a coach. Or if I can, I'll coach him myself. Even if he never goes far, I want him to be strong and healthy. He seems well coordinated already, but who knows what the future will bring. When I'm getting ready for a competition, at first I don't train at all. Galina and I usually go for a vacation in the south or somewhere outside of town around here to get away from the sporting world and the city. Then, as the competition comes up, I start easy, training once a day for 2 hours, and little by little increase the load.
I found Yuri when he was in the 3rd grade, right at the start of the school year. He told me he had done gymnastics for a year. Then summer came and he went off to the country like everybody else, and that was why they kicked him out. So I decided to set up special, more interesting practices for him so he wouldn't drop out again. He enjoyed that, and it was then he fell in love with gymnastics. Sometime when he was in the 7th grade, I saw that he could be a good master of sport.
After the '81 championship, I had a string of bad luck in competitions. I had a series of small injuries, a jammed finger, problems with joints. But even small injuries can be a problem, and it seemed like I'd just get over one thing and something else would happen.
He had a series of poor showings. I told him he should pull himself together and use everything that was in him to prove that he was a world champion. And that quality of his, the way he grabs hold of victory and won't let it get away, came into play.
Sasha and I have been working together for 12 years. You might say we see more of each other than we do of our families. There are no barriers. All in all, his family and ours are like one family. I treasure the relationship. We understand each other without his putting any great or strict demands on me.
I've known athletes who can get excellent results by repeating something over and over. But for Yuri, it's enough to do it right once in practice to get the feel of it. And then in competition, he can use his willpower to do it again, just the right way. Others have to work enormously hard for the same thing. That's a golden trait for an athlete to have.
Well, you just had a look at the young man from Vladimir, which is a city about 40 miles northeast of Moscow. Sits on the Vyazma River, tributary of the Volga, and he finished with the highest score among all competitors in the team competition yesterday. He had a score of 58.45, and his name is Yuri Korolev. He's about to compete on the floor.
If you have to pick one event to say what is Korolev's best event, I guess you'd have to say floor. Look at that mount. Nobody does it like that. That is a laid-out double backflip, and he landed standing straight up and down. Just perfect.
Scored a 9.80 on the floor exercise in the team competition yesterday.
So perfect and so clean.
Bart, the Soviets have such a great line, not only in floor exercise, but all the other events. Look at this.
Nice flares up to a pirouetting handstand. He's very cool. His whole demeanor is very confident and cool, and you get the impression when you see him perform that he's never, ever at all concerned about possibly missing. He's always in control.
Yuri Korolev, 23 years of age. He's married to a nurse. Her name's Galina. Has a son, Alexei.
Okay, here's the last tumbling run. Look at that. Oh!
Had a little problem sticking the landing.
A laid-out double back is a dismount, which is so hard to do, and I think he was trying to stick it. He under-rotated it just a little bit too much.
But quite a performance. One of the top gymnasts in the Soviet Union, and was the top gymnast here in the team competition yesterday with a score of 58.45. You just saw him on the floor. Let's look at some of his routine once again.
Watch the work here. There's a tremendous amount of power in this back handspring. And the takeoff position is absolutely perfect. Arms reaching upward. His head goes back. Now notice his second flip actually is higher than his first flip. That's the trick on the layout double back flip. Nobody does it like that.
We talk about athletic ability. There he is, Yuri Korolev of the Soviet Union. Only gymnast to win 2 world championship all-around titles. He did it in 81 and 1985.
And Charlie, I'm sure he stung his ankles on that last pass, that layout double back at the end. There's a tremendous amount of force coming into that mat when you finish that exercise.
And he's checking that right ankle right now as we await the score. 9.8, 9.9, 9.6. One judge scored him a little low, and another 9.9, so he should come out with about a 9.8, 9.85.
9.8 average. Hey, Charlie, let's go over to parallel bars. There's something over there you just got to see.
Valentin Mogilny of the Soviet Union working on the parallel bars.
Now, where do you see this routine, Charlie? He has such amazing execution, beautiful form, nice line, plus all the difficulty in the world. Look at that giant swing right to the top.
Bart, look at the toe point. It's incredible.
He finished first in this event at the World Championships a year ago.
And you can see why. Look at that back toss, back toss. Here's the dismount, tucktable back. A little hop on the landing, but no deductions other than that. What an exercise.
Valentin Mogilny, Soviet Union, 9.75 yesterday in the team competition on that event. You know, we talked a little bit yesterday, Bart, about the lack of